Angel Reese reveals the real reason behind Caitlin Clark's move to Europe. Angel Reese shuts down rumors, says Caitlin Clark's exits is a financial move. Let's go. Since Angel Reese couldn't allow Caitlin Clark's European contract to proceed without incident, she naturally takes over.
What the fuck is that headline all about?
Yeah.
Yep,
She is the
WNBA.
worst fucking basketball player.
We've never witnessed anything like this in the WNBA. Someone so intent on causing trouble who is still involved in her own steroid scandal chooses to disparage Clark by saying that players are only interested in their earnings and using race as a pretext for sympathy.
People talk about Caitlin getting hate, but someone sat down and spent hours putting together an 8-minute video with interlude clips all to trash Angel. Why?
But when the entitled complaints are coming from Angel Reese, it makes news throughout the mainstream media.
And it's obvious that she's pointing that at Clark. The crazy thing is that Caitlin has never said anything unfavorable about Reese or any other black player, but I feel like some people nowadays don't deserve to be treated in silence.
Blah, blah, blah. From Angel Reese.
We all know that Caitlin Clark's trip to Europe isn't just about trying out a new scene or getting a different job. Rather, it's about leaving the toxic environment that the WNBA has become. Although the WNBA may initially seem like a dream for someone like her, a player who is essentially built to dominate, in reality, it was becoming anything but. She wasn't just out there shooting hoops, she was avoiding scandals and side eyes as if it were part of the game plan.
Entitled players in the WNBA just can't seem to understand is, you get what you put in, and right now, you are getting exactly what you deserve.
And why? As everyone else tried to paint her as a villain, including some of her own teammates and even some prominent members of the media, who called her a racist. Where do they come up with this stuff? Clark, however, is a calm player who never bites the bait and didn't waste time answering these baseless accusations. Instead, she focused on the one thing that truly matters, basketball, but the storm surrounding her kept intensifying like a bad reality show plot.
So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans.
And then Alyssa Thomas, who is obviously not a fan of peace, chose to stoke the flames by publicly accusing Clark of being responsible for racist remarks made by her followers. Yes, you read correctly. Thomas came to the conclusion that Clark somehow controlled the speech of hapless spectators.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base.
Ridiculous. Correct. Thomas was merely attempting to deflect attention from her own problems by wrapping her anger, envy, and whatever else was simmering inside into a tidy little accusation package and hurling it directly at Clark. It wasn't even about what Clark did or said.
And she had a press conference where she cried and everybody's so mean to me. Well, she's continued the stupidity. I mean, she cheered on her teammate as she shoved Caitlin Clark, knocked Caitlin Clark in the head, and a bunch of other stupid stuff.
But here's the thing. Caitlin didn't need to do anything wrong to become a target. The affection she was receiving from fans and the way her name dominated every highlight reel and headline was enough to start a jealous fire in the WNBA. It wasn't just random internet trolls either. Some of the players who shared the court with her were unable to handle it and instead chose to celebrate her greatness.
Unacceptable, honestly. And yeah, there's no place for it. And we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it.
Angel Reese, Q Reese had her own moment in the spotlight, no doubt. But let's face it, Clark's ascent was unparalleled, and Angel was obviously not thrilled about it. As a rookie, Reese was snatching up all the attention like it was nothing, and instead of stepping up their game, they chose to let jealousy do the talking. Suddenly, everything Clark did was under scrutiny, and they grabbed it with both hands, but who cared? That's why Europe feels like a sweet escape for Clark. It's not just about playing in a different league with a different vibe. It's about breathing air that isn't laced with all the toxic fumes the WNBA had been spewing her way. The continual drama, petty accusations, and jealousy. Clark realized that none of it had anything to do with basketball anymore, and that she owed no one else a moment longer of her time spent in that disaster.
But who gives a rat's ass?
Additionally, while her detractors are busy stirring up controversy, Clark is already miles ahead doing what she has always done best, letting her game speak louder than all the noise. The fact that she chose Europe over the WNBA offseason is her way of saying, I don't need to stick around for this nonsense because, let's be honest, the atmosphere surrounding her in the WNBA had nothing to do with basketball anymore. It was just a jealously fueled feeding frenzy with players and commentators jumping at every chance to tear her down, not because of what she did, but because the world was embracing her, and that was the real crime in their eyes.
No, it's going to Caitlin Clark fans are mean. And if Caitlin Clark fans are mean and they're white, where does this head? Oh, you know it goes to racist.
She did more than simply criticize. She backed up the dump truck and dumped it, saying that Clark's choice had little to do with fleeing the dumpster fire atmosphere at the WNBA. Let's take a moment to consider whether this is truly about money, or if Reese is merely attempting to divert attention from the reality that she is in her own mess. Reese wanted everyone to know that this was all about money. Yes, to her, Clark was just out here chasing the big bucks. Forget all that talk about toxic teammates or dirty play angels. You know it's all a front. Since Reese's career is hanging by a thread and her name is still plastered on headlines due to that small steroid scandal, she decided that rather than owning up to being busted for performance enhancers, she would rather drag Caitlin Clark down with me. When you're that far down the rabbit hole, it's much easier to point fingers at someone else than deal with your own baggage.
Now they found another victim, the fans of Indiana. Now, I'm going to side a little bit with these idiots.
And now for the real deal. The irony is so thick that you could cut it with a knife. Reese didn't stop at Clark. No, she went all out, suggesting that every WNBA player, including Clark, is only in it for the money. This is coming from the same player whose career ended because she was caught juicing up to gain an advantage. It's a classic deflection. She's drowning in her own scandal and is hurling accusations like confetti to deflect the attention from herself.
Her notoriety is based off Caitlin Clark. Because she wins the national title, first thing she does, she mocks Caitlin Clark. And then she doesn't even celebrate with her teammates. So she's made it personal with Caitlin Clark.
Remembering the timeline is important. By the time Clark was preparing for Europe, the WNBA season was almost done and she was already busy getting roasted over her steroid suspension, with the press dragging her name through the dirt for weeks. Clark's European adventure was publicized in mid-October 2024. Steroids, EPO, anabolic pills, you name it, Reese had already been in the news for all the wrong reasons, and her reputation was ruined.
But Angel Reese, so she's sort of embraced a Draymond Green role here. But the eyeballs on the WNBA really have to do with Caitlin Clark.
However, it's almost comical how this Angel is attempting to portray Clark as the avaricious one. The sports world isn't buying what Reese is selling though, as analysts from Stephen A. Smith to Patrick Bet-David have been mocking her for her obvious hypocrisy and calling her out for trying to divert attention from her steroid scandal by attacking Clark and the public. Reese, who is facing rumors of a lifetime ban lawsuit from the Chicago Sky and a career that is essentially in the toilet, has the audacity to act as though Clark is making shady moves.
Do think that some of this drama, and she started some of it, to be fair.
When you examine the larger picture by zooming out, the WNBA world turned upside down when it was revealed that Reese had tested positive for performance enhancers in early September 2024. Her coach Teresa Weatherspoon was fired for allegedly enabling her, and the Chicago Sky even threatened to sue her. During this time, Clark was just going about her business, accruing debt threats and other problems. Reese's downfall didn't begin with Clark's trip to Europe. I've experienced sexualization, threats, and a lot of different things, but Reese couldn't take seeing Clark thrive. Let's be honest, it's no secret that Reese has been green with envy over Clark's success, and the timing of her attacks on him isn't coincidental. Reese's own career was in ruins, and the more she pursued Clark, the worse things became for her.
You've heard all of that. It's real. We want to act like, well, let's not focus on that. Let's just march forward and let's just move forward. Well, guess what? You can't move forward when you're ignoring the past.
When you examine the larger picture by zooming out, the WNBA world turned upside down when it was revealed that Reese had tested positive for performance enhancers in early September 2024. Her coach Teresa Weatherspoon was fired for allegedly enabling her, and the Chicago Sky even threatened to sue her. During this time, Clark was just going about her business, accruing debt threats and other problems. Reese's downfall didn't begin with Clark's trip to Europe. I've experienced sexualization, threats, and a lot of different things, but Reese couldn't take seeing Clark thrive. Let's be honest, it's no secret that Reese has been green with envy over Clark's success, and the timing of her attacks on him isn't coincidental. Reese's own career was in ruins, and the more she pursued Clark, the worse things became for her.
Reese is the villain, Caitlin Clark is the hero, and Angel Reese continued to play into it last night by getting ejected, and it's almost like it's all scripted. This is perfect for the WNBA. She's all the talk. She's the one standing up there in front of reporters saying, I need all of you guys to realize there's two of us that changed the game of women's basketball, and it's not just Caitlin Clark. I was a part of that.
Angel Reese's days of breaking records and being hailed as the next big thing seem like a lifetime ago, and now she's more known for getting caught using steroids than for anything she did on the court. It's the kind of small-time drama that makes you cringe to see a player who was once regarded as a rising star in the WNBA resort to this.